Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at the potato chip omelet from season 2 of The Bear. Now this season has left me spoiled for choice with things to recreate, but something about the little twists that Sydney puts on the classic French omelet made me want to try it myself. Now I sincerely doubt that they're making their own chips at The Bear. Commercial chip manufacturers have all but perfected the process, but just in case, how about we make some ourselves? For this task we're going to need a mandolin with a wavy blade. Now this one came with cut-proof gloves, but those proved to be not very cut-proof. Plus we're going to need to use the mandolin's food holder accessory thing to make sure that every slice lines up with the last, otherwise we end up with these Venetian blind looking things. So be careful, line up your slices, and immediately plunge everybody into a bowl of water. These are russets and their high starch content causes them to discolor quickly. We're going to let these guys rest for about 30 minutes to rinse off the excess starch, then we're going to lay them out evenly on a paper towel so that we can pat everybody very dry. We want things to be extraordinarily dry because the next step is deep frying, and water is the sworn enemy of the process. We're heating about a quart of canola to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, dropping in the chips and letting them fry for anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. Especially as they begin to curl, you're going to want to flip them frequently so that they end up a nice, light, relatively even brown. Then, while still warm, I'm seasoning with kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. Next up in the they probably didn't make it but just to be safe category is boursin, which we're making by combining 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 2 tablespoons soft butter, and 1 tablespoon each freshly chopped dill, marjoram, and chives. Start beating that together on medium speed before you realize that this is your boursin. You can put whatever you want in there. I'm also going to add 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped parsley, 1 clove of crushed garlic, some kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper, and about an ounce of freshly grated Parmesan. Now let's beat that together for about a minute until it's nice and smooth and getting kind of fluffy. And there you have it, sort of homemade gourmet cheese, which we're going to plop into a piping bag for later application. Now onto the omelet itself. Sydney beats her eggs through a fine mesh sieve in order to remove the chalaza, excess whites, and in my case, shell fragments. Hang on, I saw a trick on the internet the other day where you drop an egg from about a foot height, which cracks it perfectly every time without any fragments. And how about that? It works. So I guess the takeaway here is when you crack an egg against a flat surface, you can imitate the force and confidence of a 1-foot drop. Next, we're beating the eggs through the sieve, which is going to help give our omelet a creamier, more consistent texture. Beat that together with a pinch of salt and we're ready to rock. Over on the stovetop, I'm dropping 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter in a preheated non-stick 10-inch skillet. This is bigger than the standard 8-inch, so I've got 5 eggs rather than 3, which I'm agitating vigorously the minute that they hit the pan, cooking them over medium-low heat until they're mostly set but still very soft. Spread them out evenly, tilt the pan away from you, and sort of tap the handle, which is going to curl the omelet up the front of the pan. Then we're piping in a generous channel of our homemade cheese, gently folding the bottom side of the omelet up over the cheese, then folding the opposite side over that, sealing our omelet shut into a little eggy torpedo, which we're going to immediately invert onto our intended serving plate, do a little bit of reshaping there, especially if you're an amateur like I am. Then we're going to rub the whole omelet down with butter for shine, flavor, and to make stuff stick to it, namely some flaky finishing salt, some freshly chopped chives, and of course our crumbled wavy black pepper potato chips, which I really truly recommend you just buy. About the only reason you'd make these at home is if you have a cooking show. The omelet was accompanied by what looked like a glass of orange and pomegranate juice, and that's about all there is to it. Let's take a look at that cross section, and as you can see, the cheese makes a wonderfully melty accompaniment to the already melty interior of the omelet. So now let's see what it tastes like. And I gotta say, the boursin is a huge French omelet upgrade. It makes things extra creamy and it's tangy and flavorful. It's awesome. And the chips are actually a really nice addition. They add crunch and salt and breakfasty potatoey flavor. And like most things from The Bear, this one's ending up in the Clean Plate Club. But it also got me thinking about other ways that potato chips could be integrated into eggs. And it reminded me of a Jose Andres recipe for a sort of faux tortilla española. I'm starting with 8 eggs, to which I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of our homemade cheese stuff, pinch of salt, twist of pepper, and beaten to abject smoothness. Now, tortilla española is kind of like a potato quiche, and in order to mimic its potatoey layers, now we're going to add 2 ounces of potato chips, stirring and pressing them down into the egg mixture before allowing them to soak for 10 minutes. Then over on the stovetop, we're heating 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in an 8-inch nonstick over medium heat until shimmering, adding the chippy eggs or the eggy chips, reducing the heat to medium-low, and I'm going to sort of stir this thing for about the first 2 minutes of its cooking. I want some nice big old fluffy curds to form in the custard before I let this thing sit over medium-low heat relatively undisturbed for 3 to 5 minutes, shaking occasionally and cooking until the edges are set and are starting to climb up out of the pan. Then this guy gets very carefully inverted onto a plate and gingerly shuffled back into the frying pan to finish cooking, using a spatula to lift and push so that it doesn't tear in half. Then we're going to let this thing cook over low heat for 1 to 3 minutes until it feels set, fluffy, and even a little jiggly when jiggled. To serve, we're going to gently shake it out onto a plate, center it up if you did it sloppy, maybe pipe some of that nice herby cheese on top and garnish with fresh chives. And what we have here is not quite a tortilla española, not quite a potato chip omelet, omelet, but a distillation of the two that would be good for serving a crowd or two very drunk people. It is definitely not as good as the potato chip omelet, but it is significantly easier. And in the end, isn't that why anybody does anything? That said, I'm ready for the trickier stuff, so shout out in the comments what foods you want to see me recreate from The Bear.